You're listening to What She Grows Through, a podcast dedicated to empower and uplift Black women to grow their self-worth. I'm your host, Chanel Amir, one of many dope Black women, creating a community for us to pour into and align with one another, uncovering our true feelings from sexuality to self-love, to begin growing through life and evolving into our best authentic selves. Let's get started. What's up, beautiful? It's your girl, Chanel Amir, back again with the latest episode of the What She Grows Through podcast. How's it going? I'm so excited, oh my goodness, to bring you another episode of our self-care summer series. And as we cherish the last sunlit moments of summer, we're about to dive deep, of course, into understanding the real essence of self-care. We're talking about the highs, the lows, the celebrations, and the setbacks. And trust me, today's episode is an absolute gem. I can't wait for you to hear it. I'm honored to introduce a woman who's doing some incredible things in the realm of self-care for women from underrepresented backgrounds. Latoya De'Saun, a beacon of empowerment, joins us today. Having journeyed through toxic family dynamics, chronic pain, and the challenges posed by systematic racism, Latoya has cultivated a life mission, helping women prioritize themselves and leading them towards a life that they truly deserve. It was an absolute pleasure to connect with Latoya, and I can't wait for you to listen in. So let's dive all the way in and inspire our community to grow and nourish for the seasons to come. Listen in. What's up, beautiful, and welcome back to What She Grows Through. I'm your host, Chanel Amir, and today we are diving deep into our self-care summer series. And if you're new to our podcast, we focus on personal growth, self-care, and just the amazing journey of becoming our most authentic selves. You know, I get to connect with so many dope Black women who share their unique stories, their insights, and just lessons that not only inspire me, but my community to keep growing, learning, and evolving on our journeys towards wholeness. So I have a special guest today. It's the beautiful Latoya De'Saun, founder and chief personal development strategist, a woman who has spent more than 25 years catering to celebrities and high-profile talent in the beauty and entertainment industry, and more than 30 years just navigating toxic family relationships and chronic pain. And you're just a powerful, it all says in your bio. Like, I was looking at that, I was like, woo! So you're also a powerful advocate of supporting women to develop self-love skills, like through your work. So hi, Latoya, and welcome to the show.
Hi there, Chanel. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so excited to pick your brain, and definitely grateful that I have you here just to connect and provide space for you to share your story. So I would love to just start our conversation with this question. Like, who are you, Latoya, in this moment, and how do you feel yourself expanding?
Latoya De'Saun is one of the most courageous women that I know. Through my resilience and just go-getter attitude, I have come to a place of really recommitting to the life that I deserve, and choosing myself first. And so this is a really great time for me. I'm also in the best health of my life. I'm traveling internationally. And so I'm having fun and living the adventure while growing this second business.
Yes. And I love that, like, you just knew who you were. Like you said, courageous. And I've been using that word, like courage. I didn't realize like how powerful it was until you actually have to put the courage, like actually do those things and take action. So thank you. I'm inspired just because, like you said, that you're traveling, and I can't wait until I get to that part of my life. Like, it's gonna be so dope.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's an underground society right now, Black women traveling around the world. So whenever you're ready, like I have some numbers for you. Let's get in the WhatsApp and let's get you having a good time.
I'm trying to get a pencil because I already know I'm going to be taking notes. Like, I'm excited. Like, and that's why I have you here, like, on the show, just to talk all these things, self-care, because you're doing all these things. And today I kind of want to focus on the challenges and triumphs, though, of these practices, as we continue to grow along our journeys. I know many of us have this complicated, like, relationship with self-care, myself included. And I remember, like, when I first started, like, I felt real overwhelmed because i'm 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 focusing more on myself, but then I realized that it's important, like, that you make that time for yourself. It's a journey, it's uniquely to you. And I don't know. It's deep. So I just love talking about that, especially with Black women, because now we're starting to relax and have this,
Are we
allow
though?
this self-care. Well, allow this self-care, like, to we're shining the light. How about we're more self-aware that this is what we need to do? So some people are struggling a little bit, including myself, but we're becoming aware that we need to focus more on this. That's why there's challenges in trying to get yourself up there, or even just incorporating a little bit of time for yourself.
Yeah, no, I love that you switched it to self-aware, because number one, we have to first start off with, like, are we really being taken care of? Like, are we serving others before ourselves? Are we giving ourselves the permission to even go to that space? Because this world, especially for a Black woman, has not given us that space.
Right.
And then it's a process, right? It's a behavior change. And so I've noticed over the last, maybe 3 years, this extreme call to action for women, especially Black women, to self-care and love on themselves. Only we see them still doing all the things and taking up all the tasks. And if I ask someone how you showing self-care, they're going to tell me 10 things that they're doing. And I'm like, well, why don't you do nothing? And so that practice of just stopping to really, really discover who you are and what you actually need, I'm hoping through self-awareness that we are moving towards that place even with more urgency.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the self-awareness, and that's where the mindfulness comes in. When you break down that word, that's becoming aware of, the things that you're doing, and focusing more on yourself. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
need women to write a list. What is it that you need? What are the core things that you need? Because if
mhm,
we recognize that, we'll see how much we've abandoned our needs to
mhm,
really serve someone else, to get that external validation, which again is really tough because social media right now is just running rampant with external validation. Meanwhile, we're suffering behind the scenes. And so because I know this, I'm willing to ask the question, what are the top core things that you actually need to live a healthier, more meaningful life?
for sure. And that goes on what your values also, like how you want to show up, and what you want for your life. You gotta dig deep and figure those things out so that you can incorporate that self into there also. So
Yeah.
can you share some of your personal experiences, because you're just like, in order to just flow and have all these beautiful things that you've just been saying already, you have to have grown through some experiences. So can you share a little some personal experiences with how self-care has been working with you, in terms of some of the challenges that you've had to grow through, as well as those triumphs that you encountered along your journey?
Absolutely. I always start my story off with saying that, my parents loved me. They didn't love me well. And I know that it's really hard for women who are deeply enmeshed in their families to really come to terms with how their families have impacted how they show up today. So, how I show myself self care is just being honest, then telling the truth about what really has happened in my life and really, really challenging myself to finish that sentence. We halfway say it because we don't really want to really want to fully deal with it. And so for me, just being honest with myself and this life that I live is how I show love to myself. But also, you know, really, really challenging myself to be kinder to myself and the things that I say with my inconsistencies, which really aren't inconsistent because women like us, we're high achieving, we're ambitious, but it's never enough for us. And so, how can I speak more kinder to myself to be able to know that everything is happening for me, not to me. But I started from parents who just did not know how to love me well. And through all of my work, I realized that they were doing the best that they can. I got that quote from Brene Brown in her book, Rising Strong. But I finished the sentence and I say, and sometimes their best is trash. And the reason why that's been so powerful for me to finish that sentence is because I've let go of the expectations of what people will never be to me. Right. And that's the first step in how I was breaking free from people pleasing is that if I just truly accept you for where you are in life and who you are, then I can decide if this is best for me to be here. And because now I care about myself so much, which has been a journey through meditation, through changing the people, places, and things that I surround myself with, that I'm able to make that choice more easier to choose myself and to and build a better community. But going back to my childhood, I am a sufferer of chronic pain since 9 years old, starting my period at 9, getting early dismissals from school because I was in pain monthly, having to start taking ibuprofen 800 milligram. And then we go on to 10 years old when I was crawling in my parents' room because I was suffering a slight rheumatoid arthritis. And so, right then and there, not having the language, but understanding now that I was under extreme stress as a child. And we know for Black women, and I saw someone post this yesterday on social media, it's like you go to the hospital and they just say, no, you're fat, you need to lose weight. You think about 20 years ago, mental health wasn't where it needed to be. Caring for Black women's health wasn't where it needed to be. It's still not where it needs to be, but that was all I had to basically conclude with my challenges as a young kid. And of course, my parents were the type that as long as they had the money, they're going to make sure I go to the doctor. But that emotional care that I received once I went home was not there. But what am I? I'm a child. So I just want to please my parents. These are my caretakers. And so I overly performed in every area of my life, definitely being a high achiever in school, carrying that on, and then having multiple jobs where I'm mainly getting fired from every last one of them. And finally at around, what was it, like, I think 29, or I don't even know, but just saying like, I have to try another way. There has to be a new opportunity for me. So I was just tired of adding to my degradation of my life. And I no longer, I decided, which is the first principle of my company, you must decide. I decided that I'm going to try another way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really just powerful just to know like where it all started and how you're able to like recognize those things like in those moments, and like you're saying, try a different way, figuring out, okay, that doesn't work for me, how can I do what does, and then facing those kind of challenges. Can you share with us like some of the strategies or approaches that you were able to find most effective?
So what happened is that when I decided, and a series of things happened. 2018, I passed out at a club, and I was clinging to the dirty four. I believe I was having a panic attack, and then I would go into the worst pain of my life, which would end up on me on a journey of fibroids. At the time, and so that changed my whole life. I began to get social anxiety, became very sensitive because it's a pain that no one sees on the outside, but I was suffering on the inside. And then at the same time, I was dating a guy who was one of the, he had a lot of money. Let's just say it. It was the first guy that I dated with a lot of money, and he was really generous with it. I was already planning on going to the continent of Africa because I was a freelance makeup artist, and so when you're freelance, you're always struggling. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to make this happen. It was just that when I went to Africa for 3 weeks with him, he treated me horribly, and it was so much verbal and emotional abuse. And because I wasn't willing to take it in that area, I was like, no, sums up. Like, nah, this ain't just happening with him. This got to be happening in other areas of my life. And I had already been praying to get another therapist because I knew I needed to get back. And so we, in this trip, in which we had to stay in separate hotels before we even flew back. That's how tumultuous it was. And I was so full of low self-esteem, so hopeless. My friend looked at me and they saw a different person than one before I left. And so I began this journey of just crying and just, it was so bad. Everything I felt about myself, I went on YouTube to look up. So if I was insecure, I was like, oh, I'm insecure. I'm never going to get a man. Type it in. Oh, I feel lonely. Type it in. Oh, all these things. And so this put me on a journey of Wayne Dyer, Paul Coelho, Brene Brown, Oprah Winfrey, Iyanla Vanzant. And so from that point, I read an article that said, what is it that you want to do in life, or how do you want to help? Like, do you want to teach? Do you want to serve? And it was just these different options. And then I filled it in. And then it was saying things like, well, where would you want to live? And I had just come back from Botswana, which is one of the little places that I went when I went to Africa. And I was kind of sold on that place. It spoke to me in a different way. And so I was like, I think it's somewhere in the southern part of Africa. And then I began to smile a little bit. And I was like, let's keep that going. So I hate that I don't have this article because it was just everything in terms of changing the trajectory of my life. But when I saw myself smiling, I said, what is the one thing I could do to start showing up for myself? So I think that was what you were getting at. And so I already committed to in 2019 to start reading one book a month. There was a stat that said if you read at least 7 books a year, then you're more likely to be a millionaire. So I wanted to be a millionaire. So I was like, look, let me read some books and I'm sure this is going to help me out in other ways. So I was doing that. But after the Africa trip, I read Rising Strong and then Trevor Noah's Born a Crime, which really changed the whole game. Everybody needs to read Trevor Noah's book. A couple of months after that, I would have the fibroid surgery in which my mother came into town to visit me. I'm from Chicago, so that's where she lives, and I currently live in LA. And I have to be honest, it was kind of the worst times in terms of her treatment of me. It was like, I couldn't unsee stuff anymore, just like with the guy, I couldn't unsee what was happening and how I was being treated. And so this was the first time that I'm this handicapped. I can't be a superwoman. Like I need to rest. I just got the fibroid surgery, which means I got like the C-section cut. I'm out of here. I'm done. But my mother she's really self-centered in that, like when she's in the room, things have to be centered around her. And I did kind of start noticing that like maybe a year or two before, but it really came to a halt when I was being taken care of, like air quotes, being taken care of. Again, she is the woman that's going to make sure the house is clean, make sure the food is cooked, but emotionally, I was being neglected, abandoned, rejected, all of it. And so I remember when I closed the door, when I put her in an Uber, and I said to myself, I'm never going to have my mother help me out again. And so from that process, I realized that this was going to be a journey of relationships, of really picking the people, places, and things that are now going to give me what I feel like I need. No longer could I hide it anymore, and I was not ready to continue to play the game and add into the degradation of my life. So what was the first thing that I decided to do? I decided to start reading books. And I also knew that I wanted to be more spiritually grounded because just wasn't in control. So this was all about regaining control of my life. And so, yeah, we can talk spirituality, we can talk religion. I have my opinions on both of those and how they're seen in society. But I consider myself a religious person in that I do follow doctrine. And so I committed to at least watching like 2 sermons a week. I also knew I wanted to be a public speaker. So I said the byproduct of that, because aren't they the best public speakers around, these pastors?
Very much
So yes, I knew that would help prep me a little bit. And so it's amazing how like I realized in 2 years like how more confident I was in just speaking aloud. And I had really developed a practice of just waking up and making that one of the main things that I do daily, whether it was looking at a sermon, looking at a devotional, making sure that I take time to followed people in that space as well. So for me, it was reading books, getting a therapist, and attending to my spiritual health.
Yes, I love all the things that you said, and I've been trying to write them all down because there's so many things that I can touch on that, when you actually give people the space to share their stories, you see like how many connections that, that you're growing through also. Like even when you were talking about starting your period and having like really bad pain to the point where you had to get this early dismissals. That's so crazy because I really had to deal with that also. I'm clutching the toilet. Like I'd rather just lay down in the bathroom, like because it's either coming out this way,
Yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
just. And if you take that medicine, like because it had to been a bigger, if you take it too early or too late, now you're throwing up, and it's just
Yep.
everybody even talking about you saying you're pregnant. I'm like, this is such the opposite of what's going
It's
on with me.
disgusting what we had to go through. Like you said, it was either coming from your mouth or out your butt. Like, and then the pain of it all, you
Right.
know, just I'm 9, I'm 10, I'm 11. Like, why am I going through that? But in that early moment, pain is relative. So we learn how to bear it.
Exactly. And you realize like how strong you actually are. And then you kind of gotta like come to that self-acceptance that this is how it is. How can I adapt? How can I work with this? And then I like how you were saying like basically thoughts become things. And I know you can resonate with this because you're a reader also. I just started reading heavily in like personal growth space last year because I was in a group coaching and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're reading." And I was a little behind at first. You don't like being behind. So I read that book, but it was life-changing. It was The Big Leap. Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
goodness, it got me hooked. Then I read Atomic Habits, and then I'm like, okay, if I can read one book a month, then I can do really good. But then audiobooks just helps me because I do so much. I have a commercial cleaning business that I'm a part of. Like I work for myself at this
Yes.
point,
Yes.
but just being able to clean and listen and just be able to just take your mind elsewhere and learn how to dream. And I think that that's a really good self-care for myself because it really allows me to reset and think of different perspectives. And even like you're saying, Brene Brown, I really have favorite authors now, like Brene,
Yeah.
Vishen, Lakani. Like I have in that.
Brian Tracy is so good.
That's
Brian
really
Tracy.
dope.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been so in 2019. I think I just looked at my Audible. It says I'm at about 61 books. A lot of hours away from like the highest level. I think I'm at a master now. I think the next level is a scholar. So now I'm super
Hey,
determined. But a lot
you feel really good getting those little badges. Like once you cover, I'm like, no, like, cause I'm smart. I'm smart.
Absolutely, I'm telling you. And then you find yourself when you're reading that one book, then you're getting so good at this habit that you sometimes read 2 books a month, and then now you learn how to read two
Now you
books
got
at
to
the same
read your favorite book over and over. Like Audible allows you to do that. Like I didn't read The Code to an Extraordinary Mind. I read that like at least 5 times already. Like new gems. So yeah, definitely just reading is a big gem.
Yeah,
Um
How to Win Friends and Influence Everything will still be my top book by Dale Carnegie. That book changed the way I do relationships. And I remember my therapist at the time, when I told her I was on this book, she was like, "Oh, you're good at that. Like you're a networking girl. Like you do this." And I was like, "No, no, no. There's something to learn. There's something to learn. I'm reading it." And it changed my entire perspective on relationships because what it did is help to validate other people's experience,
mhm,
right? It's like, I don't have to agree to give you a moment to say that I heard you.
mhm.
And that has been a game changer when wanting to work and collaborate with people and just have healthier relationships in general.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that is like a form of I keep going back to this self-care part, but it's more than just like self it's just sense of self in general. You know, we can
Yep.
put a lot of different things, self-care, self-development, like all these different things that like once you're able to like tap into and uncover, you just want to continue to grow. And I think that's really really dope, you
I
know.
love how you just broke that up in terms of self-care and sense of self, because what it is that we are on this journey of identity development, of really rediscovering who we are. And I like to add on and say who God has always called us to be. I believe self-care is the way in which we live it out, the way in which we prioritize ourselves. But I think all of that is saying that this is who I am, this is how I want to rock and roll in life, and I'm going to make sure I dedicate time to doing that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And rediscovering yourself. I like how you just said that. Like we gotta unlearn a lot of the things and be able to figure out what's not like good for us and relearn it in the way that can help us
Yeah,
to
this is what I'll say. So we talk about self-care. One of the ways in which I show myself the highest form of love, because that's what self-care
yeah.
is by going no contact with my mom for 2 years. I just could not do it. And I remember I was clenching over a bed when this is after I got my surgery. So I'm still in this chronic pain, right? It's not 30 days now, but it's like a good 15. It's still very much in my life. And what I had noticed in that moment of us going back and forth is that I'm in pain while I'm trying to like make things right with you. And I realized how lonely I've been, that nobody is really getting, it really has gotten to see me in this vulnerable state. And at that point, my pain just, I did not care about what I was going through with my mom. I just wanted to be all right. But also in learning how to hold a boundary, I said, Mom, if you do this, then this is going to happen. And she did that, and this happened. And so it was at that moment where I was just like, I matter first. And so I'm going to give myself the space and place to take care of me before other people, because my mom has been the main character of my life, which is why it has taken so long for me to even establish who I am, and to build the life that I really want. And so going the 2 years without talking with her, first of all, I want everybody to know that it was super fast and I could have did a little bit more time. Okay. I know that's gonna come off a lot of different ways, but I'll tell you why. I was able to now breathe. I was able to now not be so concerned about her, and be concerned about myself first. I was able to regain control of my life. I was able to really know the friends who were there for me all along, and the friends who needed to go, who basically displayed those same kind of behaviors. I was able to find a new community. I am learning and still I learned and still learning what being emotionally available means. Didn't even know that existed. All these things, and so really, we come from Black families. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I come from a mom that says if you don't have family, you don't have anyone. And so, even though I didn't believe that, because I was using my resources since I was a kid, it was still stuck on me. Like, I just didn't have another option. I just didn't have another thing that I'm like, aha, I can do that in terms of showing myself the love that I deserve. And so, reason why I say 2 years too fast is because I could still use that, because you go back into the system and then you realize the system is still the same. And then you learn through reading all these books and going to the therapy and doing the research, is that we are very much enmeshed in our comfort zones. And it takes a lot of courage to be able to step outside of that, to live the life that you really want. And then I just realized I only have one life to live. I really just only have one, and we only got one, y'all. And so we deserve to live it if we wake up every day.
Exactly. Like it's all up to you on how you view this world. We only have one life. So we have to make the most of it. We can live heaven on earth. We're only as I don't know if I should use the word limited, but like as what we know. Like we only know what we know. And it's our job to learn more about ourselves, to learn more about just being a human. There's a lot of things that we just don't even know about, just the simple things. I'm using different words, what I'm trying to say. Boundaries and being comfortable. When we go outside of our comfort zone, that's when a lot of those self-limiting beliefs come up. And I know a lot of us can get stuck in these positions, and then all the things that we were supposed to incorporate, we can write down a list of all the things we should be doing, but when we're actually in it, in those moments, it's hard for us. So we got to keep coming back to those things, keep realizing what's important to us, keep continuing to focus on how you can grow, how you can be a better person today, and focus on how you can spread those seeds, how you can water and nourish other people while continuing to give to yourself. And I think that's a lot of the things that you're doing, which resonates so much with who I'm trying to become as well, like just being able to travel and the things that you're doing, your expertise in personal development and your passion for helping women struggle with those self-limiting beliefs, low self-esteem, that emotional loneliness. Like, I'm super confident that a lot of us can resonate with these things.
Because we've been reading the books,
Right.
can tell. We're willing to be accountable. You have a whole platform to do that. But let's talk about before that, right? We need to make sure we're talking to these women where we first started, when we said, hey, like, we need to make a change. And so that's what it is, though. We fear change. We are scared to death of change.
Right.
And so that will literally cripple us and keep us in our same zones. It will keep us around the same people who have not added to us. And so that is where, how can we show up in our learning of helping to just validate how they feel, giving them the space and place if they're not ready to change, having compassion for the things that they keep on doing or how they keep adding to the degradation. And then little by little, offering little bit of nuggets of wisdom to help them know that there is a new opportunity, there's a new community, there's a new environment that they can choose. But we have to acknowledge first that it is really hard to change.
Yes.
Some people don't have the luxury of being able to change. Some of them are very much indebted to their family members. They're helping them out. This is a big reason why I say Gen X. That's what millennials are, like the people who are like, look, I'm gonna get it all out there. My family was messed up. I had this going on, all of that.
Right. It is what it is.
Whereas Gen X, those people are they understand that things have happened, and some of them might be getting the therapy, but they're not going to openly talk about their experience. They're not going to tell the what of what happened in their life. And trust me, I have Gen X siblings, and my parents are over 70. I have baby boomer parents, so I am the millennial who is like, no, not anymore. And I see how because they feel indebted to these parents for whatever reason, that they cannot move away and fully choose themselves.
Right. So do you have any ways that we can start trying to get out of that rut? I know I can find myself in those moments as well, feeling as though maybe I shouldn't talk about these things, but then when I actually get the courage to do so, I see how other people take it, and then I find my tribe. I find the people who that's like, that happened to me. I'm glad that I'm not the only one, and then that's kind of liberating for me to continue going through those certain things.
But I have a question for you. So yeah, we have people we find our tribe, but what about the people who walked away? What are the people who invalidated your experience? What did that feel like when you were talking to someone and they advocated for the same person that you were speaking against? Like, how did that feel?
It definitely feels some type of way. That's how I'm going to say it. But then I also think, like, that's your perspective, and I'm trying to grow, and this is how I have to view the world. This is how I have to see it. So I have to be okay. I don't even know if I can understand how you feel, but that's your suggestion. Can't let it affect how I'm showing up, if that kind of makes sense. I mean, it's hard to in those moments, but you have to
But at
talk
what point
to
did you
yourself.
decide? what point did you decide, like, is this a valuable relationship for me, or is this someone I need to move away from?
Basically how I feel in those moments. Even like you're saying, like your mom, like I feel like I have to distance myself from my mom as well. Like those things, I have to put boundaries up with her because sometimes when I'm talking to her, she is not up there with me and my dreams and my aspirations. So sometimes it is too much for her to handle. So she will kind of try to knock me down and tell me I'm doing too much or you shouldn't be doing that when whoa, like, but I understand, like, you're my mom, and but that's how you see it, and this is why I have to be grounded and continue to work on myself and who I am, but then surrounding myself with the people who do push me and lift me up.
So you were asking me, so what can women do? And so when you said I pay attention to how I feel, bingo, bingo. Pay attention to how you feel in these interactions. For
Right.
me, again, like I was suffering from chronic pain. I'm passing out, I'm having severe chronic pain. I have a heating pad stuck to me. I'm having panic attacks, which I didn't really tell a lot of people about when they were happening. And so we know the book, The Body Keeps the Score. That's a 14-hour Audible read. Okay, let me just
No,
point
it's
that
on my list. I really want to, because people always refer to that, and I'm like, I want to be a part of that. Like, know what
I
you're
will tell
talking
you that if you read enough personal development books, it will once you read that book, it will feel like a culmination of a lot of books that you've read. But pay attention to how your body feels. Pay attention to how you feel about yourself. And then if you're unwilling to say it out loud, or if you don't have the courage to speak up about your experience, then start at least trying to journal, to
about.
write about the experience. And again, there's a few different ways to journal. I tell people, you can write it out. You can do an audio journal, which has really been great for me. Reciting it out loud, recording it and listening to it back. All of these will help you to really see how you were suffering or how you really didn't feel good about it. And again, that is the point where when we are not allowing ourselves to feel, that we abandon our body and we abandon our needs to serve the other person. And
Yeah.
so if I'm not feeling good, if like I'm getting a little twitch up in my chest, I need to, number one, what am I really feeling? What is really happening? Like, is it because and now I have the language because I didn't have it before, but they invalidated me.
Mm,
They gaslit me, or they deflected when I was talking. They couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle my truth.
mm,
And so we will always be in the journey of navigating positive, moving towards healthy relationships. But this is what I look at now. And don't think that it happens overnight, that you'll be great. I mean, I've been in this game for now 5 years, but I'm still coming to some realization about certain family members that, are there a little bit more, but still not really adding to like the best of me. And
right.
so pay attention to how we feel. And then in that moment, be willing to reflect on it, to really tell the truth about what is happening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So I feel like I'm getting a therapy session, like, and it's very refreshing.
I'm
Let
not
me
a therapist.
say this. I'm just saying, like, I feel really, really good because you're asking me questions. It just shows that you're actually you care about the people that you're talking to, and just us Black women just connecting, like where you're seeing something that I'm saying, and like, hold on, but what about you? So
This is a reciprocal relationship. Like, yeah, I can share, but as you're reflecting on what I'm saying, it's important that if we could add more depth to both of our experiences, it
right.
only helps someone else, right? If we talk about this and we don't really acknowledge the feeling component of what puts us in a state of low self-esteem, right? Of being lonely,
Mhm.
of being a hyper vigilant woman, If we're not understanding like that first is starting from how we feel and then how we abandon that, then we're just not helping the girls out here. And again, like I said, it's important to talk about where we were when we first started, when we made that decision to get on the front end of our life.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk all day. I could talk all day about the things that I'm doing, right? I'm sure we'll have a moment for that. It's pretty exciting.
Yes, that's the
Sure.
next thing.
But that is not how everyone will feel.
Right.
They will not, a lot of people will not resonate with that. They will think that whatever we have done in our accomplishment is so far from them, and that they think it's not reachable. And I want to let them know that these were the first things that you and I both did to start to regain control of our life. And I love that you also mention your mom, and however space you choose to do it going forward, or however you curate that experience. I just love that you're acknowledging that, yeah, like my mom sometimes like is a big reason why I'm like, I have to do what I'm doing. And I want to be clear, it's not just my mom, right? It's not, it's not even my dad. I'm not talking to him either right now. It's not the sister that I haven't talked to in 3 years. It's not the aunties and the uncles who like are really, they just want to keep controlling you, you know? It's the system. It
Mm-hmm.
is the system that is hurting all of us.
Right.
And what we know is that when you're enmeshed and you're in these system, it is hard to get out. And for me, because my parents blue collar, you know, we had a bus driver who worked his way all the way up to an instructor, my mom who's a teacher forever, they were able to afford me other opportunities that put me away from my family members. If I'm going to college, I'm no longer available to go to all the parties at the house. And you know, I had to travel back. It's just that only when I traveled back, I had to hear, you think you're all that, and you think you're this, and you think you're that. And it's like, well, I want you guys to be here too. And so um sometimes we're pushed into new opportunities, but still not know how to handle this new person that they want you to be. Like I believe my parents wanted the best for me, but I don't think they were ready for what they were going to get as a result of giving me all these opportunities.
Right. 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 And then I just want to definitely take down or take it back to when you were talking about like the journaling and how you're reflecting these things so that you're able to get those things out and be more clear of how you feel about certain things. Breakdowns lead to those breakthroughs, and those, like you're saying, those are the areas where you're pivoting. You got to learn how to pivot in the right space that you need to. So that's definitely been something that I've been doing. A visual, one of the times I did just like break down and like just really talk about it. Like I know it's hard, like I know that you got to choose your heart, but damn, like but then
Yeah.
I can look back. Like I had a brand shoot right after that, and I felt good. I was inspired, motivated. But now I can look back on that, and really, it can take you back to like how you felt in that moment. But then you can actually recognize how you're able to grow from that, or appreciate being that vulnerable, and maybe you can use it for later.
Oh, it definitely works. Look, when I first started traveling in a full time in 20 at the end of 2021, I told my therapist, I said, I'm going to do a 1 year audio journal. I was like, I don't even know what it's going to do for my career. I have no idea, but I'm going to dedicate a year to audio journaling. And she was like, because everybody, they were so excited for me. They're like, yeah, you have to like this experience has to be documented and all this and that. And so I don't want to say I'm not, but I don't like to write because I also had a tendonitis. And so once you have tendonitis and you're a makeup artist and you mostly use your hands and you're single and you have to do everything with your hands, you're like, I'm super scared now to use my hands, to the point where I'm in physical therapy now. I'm trying to build strength in those hands because now they're weak. But anyway, um, I can't believe this year journal of like me going to Italy. I started with Italy, then I went to Ghana, then went to Botswana to start my workshop, and then went back to Ghana for relaxation. And because the men are super fine, I'm gonna just be honest. And so, but there was one that just was like the kryptonite. Okay, he was just like, not good. It was just not great, and I did not know how to choose myself or trust myself at that point. And so I was so broken, and I was so down about it. there was a situation that happened last year, and it was just more surrounded around my dad came to Ghana because we have some family there. And then this guy was here, and I got treated so bad by my dad. I was just like, I could have got treated better by a homeless person. I went home, I started crying, just incredibly hopeless. And I did all the audio, like, and that's why I like sound, because it's like you get to actually not only write the words, but, listen to what you're saying, but you get to feel the emotion of what it was. And so I had been coaching a few women at that time. And so they sent me some resources. It was like, no, no, no. And I was like, okay, thank you. And so a couple of people saved my life in the form of following them on Instagram. And so I still follow them. And it's just amazing what in a year of just following, changing like who you follow and how they save your life. And so I listened to one of the audios from last year, and I was just, oh my God, I was so broken. I was down. It was like, I just don't know how to trust myself. I don't know what to do. And I just don't know. And I'm screaming in the phone, like, it's okay, Toya. You're going to be okay, Toya. It's like, because I don't feel that way today. But last year, I did not see another way for myself. I could not see the solution. And I'm screaming in the phone, like, it's fine. You're going to figure it out. And I remember I just would have so many sessions with my therapist, like, I don't know how to trust myself. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know how to get there. And I remember lamenting this in my audio journal. And today I do know the process. I do know how to trust myself now. So I'm telling you, those journals are everything to look back and see how far you've come.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Oh my goodness. So just in terms of like how you got here, like I just want to just dig in all the things that you're doing, like all these just beautiful things that you're working on, how you're able to pour into other people, from being a beautician to you're redefined her. Like I want to talk more on that. Can you paint us a picture?
The business is all about how the framework that I use to change my life. So exactly the steps that I took, I created it into a business called the Patent Leather Project. And then it focuses on life coaching, strategic planning. And I have an event that I host in Botswana and looking to speak and share in other conference spaces as well. And so when I said one of the first things that I would do is get my spiritual grounding, it laid out the framework. So I would just create goals to show up for myself daily in that area. The next level was physical and mental health. And so again, I'm passing out at a club, I'm having chronic pain. And so there's so many Black women walking around here that are in pain, who need to go to the doctor, who need to get those checkups and get those referrals. And so I know it's a tedious process. Like I was literally on the phone for about 3 hours just trying to get a dental appointment for tomorrow, but I got it. And so it is tedious, but it changes everything. It changes our quality of life. And so just setting a goal of like, hey, I'm going to call that doctor's office. I'm going to call that dentist. I'm going to make sure I get the therapist. I also have a pastor who's been mentoring me for the last almost 10 years now. So in that order is how I set up my daily life. And then relationships. So again, what are the people, places, and things that need to change so that I'm feeling good about myself? And then also, how do I change my belief systems, my thought patterns, and how I react to life challenges? That's the biggest level. You'll always, like, that one is just like always going to rock your world. And then the other levels is career and finances. So when I wrote the vision and made it plain on the life that I really wanted, I just pretty much said, this is what I want to be doing. This is how much money I would like to be making to start me off. And then, certainly I want to be like somewhere millionaire, billionaire status. Why not dream big? I call it enter the dreaming zone, the radical level of belief. And so that's the pathway to freedom. But when I'm setting up the growth plan for myself, it was really about adhering to the first three levels. So the spiritual level, the mental, physical health level, and then the relationship level. Only we see Black women really focusing on the career and the finance level. And so I tell people that you really don't have to work on that level. You just have to set those goals. Really, your success is going to be a byproduct of your obedience to those first three levels. Okay. And so I pretty much just worked the plan. And then as I worked that plan of setting goals for myself, I realized that it was a journey of working with my mindset, and then figuring out the strategy, and then finding my community. And so that's the 3-tier process of the Blueprint to Personal Freedom, which is the main framework. And that is what I use to pretty much coach anyone that comes around me. And so it's hard to lack accountability when you're around me. It's hard for me to let you just
I could tell, but that's a good thing though. I need that. You're like, oh, well, yeah, all right. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I've always been that
I can
girl
do
that I'm like, come on now. Like, I'm always been the one that would say what no one would want to say. And so that's pretty much how I work through the plan and how I help other people. When we talk about my career, I'm a personal makeup artist to high profile talent, newly retired, really, which is really exciting. I had a really great career working throughout retail and then working with some of the biggest prominent people during the highlight of their careers. And so when we talk about building a luxury service, being that you serve people, I was there for them. I was at their beck and call. I loved what I did. But again, you go home, you're lonely, you're by yourself. I made a ton of money, went to some amazing places. All of it was amazing. But when I really wrote down the life that I wanted, it did not include that in that same way. I realized that I was still on that search of being seen, valued, and heard from my family. But once you get the front cover magazines back to back to back to back, and you don't even get a text message or a call saying congratulations, loses its weight a little bit. So although I'm very proud of those accomplishments, I'm so glad that I'm moving towards a space of doing it for me and not for the validation of my family and or just anybody in this world. And so what happens after you really work with your mindset, you're willing to be accountable, you're willing to show up for yourself, and then you've created the plan, the vision, then through establishing a new community, my life changed. So I tell people within 18 months of me writing that plan. So remember I told you I came back from Africa and I was all in the dumps. I count that as my day one. And so approximately about, I think, 18 months from that point. And your transformation will already start. Once you start just becoming, telling the truth of the life you really live, you'll begin to see a whole lot of things. But a lot of people don't count the transformation until they start making money and they get the financial stability. So I say it took about 18 months for me to see a huge bump in my career, a huge bump in my finances. And then I had also said that when I did makeup, I wanted to make money really fast. So I'm still a proponent of how can we get this money as fast as we can? And so I started to go out the house. I was making like $4,000 a month in LA, which was, I mean, all right. And then I went for 4,000. I had set a goal to do 10,000, and I had did the calculations because I'm a retail girl, so I knew how to break it down to how many gigs I need to do that month to achieve that. Um, and I went from saying 10,000 to actually getting 20,000 a month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. I mean, that changes your whole life. It's
Right,
like
right.
that changes everything when you got 20,000. I have not seen that in my bank account ever, and barely was making that yearly in general. So what I realized in doing the personal work and then now getting the professional success is that God was setting me up to help women personally and professionally. And because I worked in one of the hardest industries in the world, anyone who were seeking entrepreneurship or wanted to just like grow their career, I felt like I was now really in a position to help them because I had seen what it looked like to succeed in that area. And again, I need to know more people who've made at least 20,000 consistently, but a lot of people that's like a dream for people to do that. But also when I wrote down the list of what I really want, I knew that I wanted to live in another country. I knew that it would probably be the southern part of Africa. I knew that with this business that me and God created, that I was going to start in Gaborone, Botswana in 2022 and start doing my workshop from there. So I just submitted to the process and knew that that was the goal. It's not the end goal, it's just the goal for that 2.5-year period. So I always tell people, I'm working with a client right now where we're getting her strategic plan together. She was like, well, we started this whole thing saying that this is the thing that I want to do. And I said, you're still doing it. You just have to do these other things. You got to read the books. You got to get the knowledge. You got to stop working so hard. It's a journey, but we're still here for that same goal that you want to achieve. So even though people saw me succeeding in makeup and they thought like it looked so good to just like continue on that journey, I had another plan. God had another vision for my life, and so I'm really happy to be living that out. So yeah, through coaching, let's create a game plan. Let's get you out here, get you confident in meeting the right people to get you there. Success is yours.
Right. It's imminent. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you believe in yourself. So with the whole framework, you can't do any of this without belief. So we have to start from a place there. And so that tends to get us to like your spiritual development, which is basically spirituality means how do you make meaning of the world? Religion just means what is the doctrine that you follow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, I just think that we've gotten so many gems from now. The title of the podcast is called What She Grows Through. And I'm so curious to know what this phrase means to you and how it aligns with your personal and professional journey. And, you know, how it can inspire other Black women in their growth and self care journey.
Yeah. So what she grows through to me is me acknowledging what was keeping me back. So what I had to grow through was my toxic family relationships. Okay. And being able to grow through that, I'm able to see a whole new world for myself. And so that's where we do have Redefine Her, which is it's the new name now because it's been a whole lot of different names, but we had to show up. We had to at least show up. And so I think it's appropriately called Redefine Her, Designing Your Future, because as I grew through working through toxic relationships and choosing myself, I now get to redefine my life and design a whole new future. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you get to live it out and be the best version of you by sharing your journey and how you're showing up. You inspire and empower other like-minded people, other Black women to do the same, and it's amazing.
Yeah, what she grows through to me is like you got to start somewhere. You
Mhm.
know, you got to start somewhere, and we're so afraid to show the most vulnerable parts of our life. But you know, I'm okay with it now because I'm realizing who I am, and I know that the people who are for me will only make me feel good about the things that I'm doing and the track that I'm on. The greatest part about all of this is that I don't even need that validation anymore. I know what I'm doing, and I know that it's right for me and the life that I'm building.
Exactly. That's so dope. I kept using that word. And it's
It's okay.
important, you know, for our listeners to understand that it's okay for us to continue to grow, to continue to work on ourselves and really uncover those things about ourselves so that we can continue to grow, shed light on those things and have an accountability partner. Definitely to just get all up in Latoya's, just get all up in her business because clearly she's going to like help you redefine yourself, you
I
know.
always end everything by saying, this is my sort of my tagline of my company is you've been serving everyone, yet being served the least. Not anymore. It's time to recommit to the life that you deserve. So if that's something that you want to do, then I am here, for you. I know how to listen and set the space for you. And I have created a lot of tools and strategies and self-care practices to help you get there and honor yourself. But it is a journey. You got to start
Yep.
somewhere.
Yep. Yep. And it's worth just celebrating like as you're growing through those things as well.
Every part. Look, you think I didn't celebrate being able to set the dentist appointment yesterday? I was like, I'm over here in gratitude because that took everything I had, all these numbers and all these people saying different things. But the blessing is that um, I don't have a car right now because I sold my car because I don't really intend to be in America full time. But I'm really moving away from this place.
Wow.
And so I told the guy on the phone, I said, I I need to get a time that's doable for me to catch the bus. And he was like, oh, well, we provide transportation services if you need to get a ride. I was like, what? What? You mean to tell me I can get picked up to
Right.
go to my doctor's? I was just like, come on, God. So again, if I had to stay on the phone all that time to get there to know that I ain't got to catch the bus tomorrow, man. And so again, when we talk about the health categories, like you don't have to lead with what you don't have. It's all about what you do have. Your resources are right there. And Jordan, who helped me on the phone yesterday, saved me. And I'm so appreciative.
Yes, for sure. Wow. Well, it's just been so nice just connecting with you today. Like all your insights have been empowering, inspiring. I definitely have a lot of things that I have to continue to get on. Um, I hope our co-journeyers listening today, we're able to grab all the gems because I definitely did. So just thank you so much for sharing your journey and empowering us all.
Thank you so much, Chanel, for having me. Look, I always tell people in the world of where external validation and who is she and how many followers she has and what is she doing, I'm glad that when I reached out to you, you saw what I had to offer so that we could serve your community. And so thank you for creating the space. And this is not the end, this is community. And so we are here to help each other, and I'm happy to serve.
Yes, thank you so much. Like,
Thank you.
I'll definitely link all your information in the show notes, but tell our listeners how they can get all up in your yes.
Yes, Latoya De'Saun, LatoyaDesaun. Apparently, when I click on my end, a lot of things come up. So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. I can't wait to hire a digital marketing person, so I don't have to do any of that. But
Right.
but you can find me. I'm around. I'm talking about this stuff. And yeah, I'm here to serve. My company is Patent Leather Project. www.patentleatherproject.com.
Yes. Thank you. There you have it. And I'll put everything so that they can just click right there.
Yes, thank you so much.
Wow. Can we just take a moment to enjoy the wisdom and authenticity that Latoya shared with us today? Like, whoo, oh my goodness. Every word, every experience, just a testament to the resilience and transformation that's possible when we put ourselves first. It's been a heartwarming experience connecting with you today, Latoya, and thank you for shining your light on our community. And to our beautiful listeners out there, if any of Latoya's words resonated with you, please do us a favor and rate our show 5 stars and drop a review. We love to hear how her journey touched your heart. And if you got a story of your own, a tale of resilience and transformation, we're all ears. Send us an email at hello@whatshegrowsthrough.com and let's celebrate our collective growth, especially as we wrap up this sun-kissed summer and step into a new season of life. Thank you for sharing your time and energy with us today, and I look forward to talking with you again. Until then.